What's the worst case of toxic positivity you've ever witnessed? I was volunteering at a 10-day silent meditation retreat in the mountains when everything went catastrophically wrong on day 4. We had 20 participants who'd each paid $5,000 for enlightenment under our guru Master Bodhi, and the rules were absolute, including total silence and zero contact with the outside world. Around midnight, I was doing my rounds when I heard violent crashing sounds from cabin 7. Through the window, I saw Rachel throwing herself repeatedly against the wall while clawing at her own face and screaming that insects were crawling under her skin, trying to eat her brain from the inside. Blood was running down her arms where she'd scratched through the skin, and her eyes were completely unfocused, like she wasn't even seeing the room anymore. I sprinted to the main lodge where Master Bodhi was leading an advanced session with his inner circle. Rachel's having a psychotic break and she's hurting herself, so we need to call an ambulance right now before she does permanent damage. Master Bodhi slowly opened his eyes and gave me this serene smile that made my stomach turn. What you're witnessing is a Kundalini awakening as her ego dissolves, and if you interrupt this sacred process, you'll destroy her chance at liberation. I stared at him in disbelief and explained she was literally tearing her skin off, but he just kept smiling. The divine feminine energy can manifest in ways that seem violent to the untrained observer, but she's exactly where she needs to be for her spiritual evolution. The screaming got louder, and when I ran back to check on her, she'd smashed the mirror and was holding a shard to her neck, while sobbing that the voices wouldn't stop unless she let the poison out of her blood. Another volunteer named William appeared beside me and grabbed my arm because he'd just found a man in cabin 3 who'd been awake for 60 hours straight and was convinced that meditation had turned him into a prophet who could see everyone's death dates floating above their heads. 2 more people are showing similar symptoms and getting worse by the hour, William whispered while we watched Rachel through the window. We ran back to demand Master Bodhi call for help, but he stood up and blocked the doorway with his arms spread wide. Anyone who breaks the sacred container of silence will be spiritually responsible for destroying these souls' journey toward enlightenment, and I absolutely forbid you from interfering with the divine process unfolding here tonight. That's when we heard Rachel screaming that she was going to cut the demons out, and William looked at me with pure panic in his eyes. She's going to kill herself if we don't do something right now. Master Bodhi grabbed William's shirt when he tried to push past toward the office where the phones were locked away. If you take one more step, I'll make sure everyone knows you murdered her spiritual awakening and blocked her from achieving everything she came here to find. William shoved him hard against the wall, and Master Bodhi fell backward onto the floor while shouting about lawsuits and spiritual karma. I'd rather have karma than a corpse, William yelled as we ran to the office and kicked the door open. While William called 911, I ran through the retreat, yanking open cabin doors and shouting that this was a medical emergency, and everyone needed to evacuate to the parking lot immediately. Several participants were already having panic attacks from the screaming, and one woman told me she'd stopped taking her bipolar medication 3 days ago because Master Bodhi said pills blocked chakras. The ambulances arrived with police backup just as we got Rachel away from the glass, and the paramedics had to sedate 3 different people who were in various states of psychiatric crisis. Master Bodhi tried telling the officers that we'd violated his religious freedom, but they were more interested in why 4 people at his retreat were having simultaneous psychotic episodes. Rachel told me later that if we'd waited 5 more minutes, she would have been dead.